Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Trying to figure out how you're feeling about your business right now? If so, you're not alone. Is your relationship status set to it's complicated, but also very unwilling to go back and get that 9 to 5 because you're watching your colleagues drown in a sea of boundaryless work hours with a complete lack of autonomy? And if you haven't noticed lately, the American workforce has had it. So let's make sure if you're considering getting a job, it's because it's an intentional choice and not because you're feeling like you've overcomplicated this small business thing. If you're not paying yourself properly, you're constantly in a state of worry about revenue, and you feel like somehow you're failing at this online business thing because it seems like everyone else around you is printing money, listen up. This is for you. You are an expert, and it's time that you get paid like one. Welcome to the Bold Profit Academy, the only system your business needs to get you paid like the expert you are. We are focused on 4 core areas you really need to build a sustainable business and not work all the time. We're talking easy on your energy. We will teach you. Here are the things, the 4 things we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to create a gold star lead generation process so that you're always able to find leads that want to talk to you and become paying clients. Understand buyer psychology, why people buy. What do they actually need so you can clearly communicate what differentiates you in the noisy marketplace? Align your sales process with your values and strengths so you gain confidence, the confidence you need to create predictable revenue. Understand how money works so you can profit in any economy year over year. I'm Tara Newman, and I am a business growth strategist, Profit First certified consultant, high performance coach, investor, and long-term wealth building money nerd. After over 25 years in business, working both for large organizations and building my own, I'm supporting small business owners to make the targeted shifts that allow them to turn their businesses into wealth creation machines. You have paid your dues and then some, I'm sure of it. So now it's time to secure your financial independence. To check out the Bold Profit Academy and get onto the waitlist to join, go to theboldleadership.com/academy, and maybe you'll be one of the many women celebrating their successes on our next Friday call. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Bold Profit Academy case study series. That is the creative name I have given this, where we are talking to what I want to say very real women who have real businesses and are getting real results. And I was sharing with Shi while we were in the green room that the more I skulk around the internet, the more I see people wanting a different level of representation, I'll call it, in case studies. Women who might be single or single moms, or women who have young children, or women from diverse backgrounds, or, just not this atypical that we've been seeing when any of us kind of flip open an app. And it's funny because I've also been saying that there really is no longer an online space or online people, because everyone has access to these apps and are opening them and looking there. And regardless of even what industry you're in, it could be health and wellness with the before and after pictures, right? Everybody is seeing results and they're not getting a full picture. So thank you, Shi Chen is with us today. Shi, tell us, I want to know, I've got some just introductory questions to you. What do you do and who is your core market? Who are you talking to? Who do you help?
Yeah, Sarah, I'm so excited to be here and have this conversation. So what I do is I love helping service providers, coaches, women who are really, really good at what they do, but kind of struggle with the business building side of things, right? Maybe they are freaked out about visibility, or maybe they feel like sales can feel icky and sleazy. But for me, I really believe that you can make money doing what you enjoy, but let's build a business where it can really contribute to a fulfilling life.
Yeah. And I know specifically when we were talking about this too, like moms.
Right.
Like it doesn't have this. What I love about what you talk about and what I hear you talk about is, one, I say anybody can do this from the perspective of you're a great space holder for people who feel like maybe they don't have that personality.
Right.
Like, so maybe they don't feel like they're the talent and they're really out there rocking their visibility. Like, this is where you come in and say, well, let's actually talk about what visibility is and isn't. Or, a mom who might feel like she's at a disadvantage because of time. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, this is available to you too. Let's show you how.
Exactly. And so just like you're saying, I love helping other moms. I typically, because I'm also a woman of color, I typically work with women of color as well too. Basically, the problem that I solve for you is helping you to build a business foundation, even if you don't feel like you're good at business. But I think the perspective that I bring is that authenticity piece, right? Like, mm-hmm. Can you build a business around your own strengths using what you already have? Even if you do feel like you have time constraints, or are not moving as fast as other people, or maybe you feel like you don't know something, like trying to figure out a secret or whatever. There's no secret. It's just,
there's no secret. We're telling you the truth.
You just got to do it. I think if you find yourself on the path of entrepreneurship, whether you picked it, I definitely did not. I kind of stumbled into this.
This was my next question. How did you get here? So my next question was going to be like, where did you start? Did you, and it's funny because I realized as I was preparing for this interview and like reviewing my notes with you, I don't think I actually know this about you. So what was your career prior to this?
So I have a background in education. So I went to school to be an elementary school teacher right out of college. I actually taught overseas in Beijing, China for a few years. So really working with that expat community. But what I loved about teaching was just like helping people with that personal growth part of themselves. But what I found was I didn't quite flourish in that type of teaching environment. And so around that time, I think I was like 26 or something. I call it my quarter life crisis, where I was like, I did all of the things to get to the path of where I went today. I thought this was going to be my dream job. Like, what it looked like on the outside was that I had it. Like, I worked towards the exact thing I wanted to get, but it just didn't feel right to me. Like, there was just something quite like off, I guess. So around the same time, I worked with a mentor, a life coach, and she really kind of helped me figure out a lot of just like the mindset stuff of what do I actually want out of my life? What is the contribution that I want to make in the world? Those like deep, deep questions that really are so powerful and so meaningful, and I think so helpful to even reevaluate in any season of your life. And when I found through that process was like, oh, I really like what you do. Can I do more of that? And so, I pursued getting a coaching certification. I opened my own life coaching business and kind of ventured onto the online space, I would say 2016, around in that time period, and had mild success with that, signed clients, got to work with people finding in all different spheres, career, business, life. And for me, just like really figuring out my niche there. But I would say again, like I wasn't like a born entrepreneur. I kind of stumbled into this, but what I found was I was the traditional, like, again, like school environment as a teacher just wasn't a good fit for me. So around that time, I was living in Beijing, and then that's where I met my husband, and we moved back to the States. And that's when I kind of poured my focus into growing the life coaching business, getting into the online space, and found some traction there. But that's when I then we started our family as well too. So that was kind of like the crossroad moment for me of like, I think my struggle has always been like kind of like reconciling those two parts of me of I love the motherhood and raising a family, but also pursuing work that I'm good at and I enjoy doing.
Care about
and I care about. And so when I had my daughter, that was like a real big struggle for me of like just trying to figure out how to do business while like nursing or going to doctor's appointments and doing all that stuff. And it just felt so stressful, and I couldn't quite like reconcile those two parts of me. So what we decided as a family was that I would take a break from the business and just like focus more on raising my baby. So I had another daughter in that time period, and I kind of took a break from all the online business stuff and all that stuff too. And I think in the back of my mind, I always knew like this is the work that I'm meant to do. It's okay if I take a break from it because I always saw it as like the long game.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I wanted coaching to be my career until I retire, I still have a lot of time left to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But in that season, right, my babies would be little. And so I think just being able to give myself that permission and that perspective, and then also figure out what could work in our family. I know it's different for everybody, but just for that period, taking a break from the business, focusing on the family. And then I knew also too, like whenever it was time to go back to the business, I would do it.
Yeah. So I actually want to take a moment and just reflect some things that I'm hearing you say that are really important that I want to make sure that women kind of hear. So I almost like want to endnote that little preamble that you gave us. Thank you. I 100% concur, understand that friction between motherhood and work that had trapped me for so long, because it wasn't until I started my business that I realized it was both and not either or. So when I was working a corporate job, the way it gets almost positioned in corporate, and probably why a lot of women leave, and I say out of necessity, is because it's this either or. Either you are this professional working this full-time career, or you stay at home with your children. Because until probably recently, and they're still not doing it that great, there hasn't been a lot of flexibility or leeway for women to kind of, and I don't want to use the word balance, but I personally resonate with that word and crave it. They don't give a lot of opportunity for that flexibility. And so when I was deciding to have kids, when I had kids, after I had kids, like that was something that trapped me so hard, having this mindset of either or. And not realizing until I actually did the thing. It wasn't until I actually left, started my business, that I realized that I had evidence of it being both and. So I really want to call that out, just woman to woman, women who are listening to this, real world challenges kind of a thing, that is 100% very real. And I think it still is today. My journey was I'm a little older, but I think it's still relevant today. The other thing that I want to highlight is how you naturally were comfortable with stretching the time horizon. Because I think that's actually key to succeeding in almost anything, is giving it a longer runway, giving it a longer time horizon, and allowing yourself that space. And my mom always would say to me things like, if I'd said like, oh, well, I want to do this, but like I have the kids, or I want to do this, but I want to do this. And my mom would always say to me, time passes anyway. And so what I took away from that, and it's such a gift that she gave this to me, was what can I be doing now to set myself up for the fact that time passes anyway? I remember like when I was choosing graduate school, And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go back into graduate school. I was dating my husband at the time. I'm like, I want to get married. I want to start my life. And she said to me, you know what? Time passes anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. And she's like, why don't you just take a class, 2 classes, see what happens? Time passes anyway. Right. And that's always something that gets me to connect with the thing I really want, even though I might have other things on my plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, just like stretching out that timeline naturally, because I think, to be honest, it wasn't like that in the beginning. I was definitely like, oh, I want all the success and I want it now. But I feel like, again, like that just added so much unnecessary stress, unnecessary pressure on me that I was like, there's got to just be a different way. And so I love that reminder of just understanding, okay, like what season of life are you in right now?
Yep.
What stage of business are you in right now? Really understanding, okay, like where to actually put your focus in right now, again, to set yourself up for whatever comes next. And then really seeing all those time constraints as working for you, right? Those are boundaries for creativity, or just ways for you to really think, okay, if I don't have a ton of time, how can I make everything that I do more potent or work for me? And so again, like that belief can really be a gift if you choose to see it that way.
Right. All right. So this is really interesting because one of the things I actually wanted to talk about with you today was, and we're going to do some like transparency for me talk. So when I had you on that initial call where you had some questions about joining the Bold Profit Academy, I got off the call and I thought 2 things. I thought, I'm not sure if she has enough urgency to join us. And 2, I'm not sure if I did a good enough job understanding why joining was important to you. And I'm going to share why, as just, again, transparency. We're having real talk here. As you can see, I think she is just lovely. She's a quieter person than me. I can be very New York loud. And sometimes when I get around people who are a little quieter than me, I try and really honor their space, but I don't always, I get in my head about it and I wind up holding myself back sometimes from asking maybe the questions that I should have asked on a sales call. So we're just going to ask them now.
Okay, great. I'm here for it.
Because we know each other better.
Yeah.
Now, so for anybody who's like, I'm uncomfortable in sales calls and I feel weird. Yeah, so do I. I still teach it.
So that's so fun that you say that, because I left the sales call just being like, yeah, she answered all my questions and I'll join. So
right. And she was so great because she's like, I forgot what it was. It was like at the end of the month and you had to wait for something to happen. And you were like, okay, I'm not joining today. I need this and this to fall into place. And then I'm joining in this time frame. And I was just about to follow up with you because I had noted that in my calendar. And you came through and I think I reached out to you and I'm like, I'm really impressed by your commitment. Like, and you follow through on your word. Yeah. And so when you were joining, so we know some of your circumstances, right? We know you're a mom. In the green room, I found out that your kids are 3 and 5. They're very, very young. I tip my hat to all of you who are running business with littles. Mine were slightly older than that when I started. And I remember how hard it was to be juggling career and motherhood back then as well. And then entrepreneurship is just a totally different beast, in my opinion. And I think like for me, it was probably good that I had some structure of a corporate environment during that time. So like really tipping my hat to all of you. So those were your circumstances, but why was it important to you that you joined? And I remember our conversation was around money.
Yeah. So I was in a place before I joined the Bold Profit Academy. I was in a place where I guess I would call it like I had a pretty good like business foundation. However, I was like on the brink of being really tired. And this is just, again, like the past few years with COVID and childcare is kind of difficult. Consistent childcare.
We are
is
tired
difficult
humans.
to get.
We are tired humans.
Yeah. And I was on the verge of burnout. And so I knew, I was like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing and expect to grow. And I think for me, the question was like, if I were to make more money in my business, what would I even do with it? Like there was nothing, like didn't feel motivated by money. I would consider myself motivated more through just like meaningful work. But running a business, you have to be able to blend both. And so that was kind of the question that I had in my head when I was looking for it. I was like, okay, like I wanted help with money. I wanted help with feeling like I guess baseline neutral about money, bonus, feeling empowered around money. And to be able to do that well, because that's definitely these money conversations is what I talk with my clients with all the time too. And so it just felt so like congruent for me to be able to receive the type of support that I would be able to then, help other people with as well too. So that was kind of like whatever the urgency was too, was I knew if I didn't change anything, I would probably just like pitter out and burn out, and that's not going to help anybody. But the drive was just more like, okay, like I want to increase my financial literacy. Like I want to be able to figure out how money would benefit my business, how I could really serve my life.
I really like that because so many people, I'm sure, will identify with not feeling particularly jazzed with money, whether it's not motivated or whether it's baseline not neutral about money, right? But so much of owning a business is about money.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about your purpose, but it's hard to do your purpose when you don't have income to support the purpose. And as much as we say we're not motivated by money, eventually we do feel resentful if we're overgiving and not receiving.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what you did instead of just going, no, I'm just not motivated by money. That's just who I am. You said, what would being motivated by money look like?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Right. And you got curious about that. That's like a 1% shift, right? That the things that we talk about where you're like, I shifted my mindset 1%. That's it. It's flipping the question.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I think the Bold Profit Academy was such a good fit it's a really great place to get curious about money. Right. It's a place where you can ask questions. And I asked a lot of questions.
We love your questions.
And so I think if you, instead of like feeling stuck or whatever, it's just like, I get curious and then find some support to be able to.
All right. So what I'm hearing you say is you actually did have a level of urgency because you were really leaning into this, not feeling motivated about money. And what I'm hearing you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you knew that was going to become a sticking point for growth at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like,
and again, like the sticking point even being like the difference between quitting and keep going.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think money, like, I think you get to a point, like you were saying, like if you don't prioritize making money in your business, if you don't change your relationship around sales, you're gonna want to stop. You're gonna want to quit. You're gonna feel resentful on the clients that you do have if you're undercharging or you're not being compensated by your work. And so I think if you're able to just kind of flip that, like what would it look like if you enjoyed sales? What would it look like if you knew the kind of money habits that you could do over and over again that could help you now and in the long run?
If you knew what purpose your money served, right?
If you knew what purpose your money served. Yeah.
So taking it beyond, I'm not motivated by money, but like asking, well, what purpose does money serve for me? Mm-hmm. Because it does serve a purpose in lots of different ways for different people. Some pretty significantly, for most people, pretty significantly, even if they don't like that it's that significant. Mm-hmm. It is. And so what were some of your breakthroughs around this exploration around money and your motivation and things like that? What were some of your breakthroughs in the Bold Profit Academy?
I think two big exercises that really stand out were, the first one was the Thrive list that you have us do. And it's, you can do it today. You can pull out your journal and really ask yourself, what do I actually desire out of my life, out of my business? What brings me joy? What brings me delight? And that's something that I would do, but I think just really prioritizing and just like allowing myself to see that a lot of things that I like number one, don't cost money, but number two, if they do, that's okay, right? This is the thing. Like when you're finding out how money gives it purpose, these are the things that you value. And so I think just giving myself permission to even tune into, okay, what do I actually want? Like, what do I actually care about? What brings me joy? That just like being able to get specific around that actually gave me a lot of insight into, I guess, like if I were to buy something, how that money would then be utilized. And then the second piece was all the content around implementing profit first into your business. So then, because then that way you're really being able to see, okay, when I do make money in my business, this is how money could be allocated to be able to do all the different things in my business.
Yeah. So it really draws a line from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. With the Thrive list and the money mapping from Profit First, and so this is something that I've always really felt important was we only know what we know. Mm-hmm. And our brains are wonderful. They create these neural pathways, but unless you can create new neural pathways, you tend to stay entrenched in your existing line of thinking. And so one of the biggest benefits around being in a group, in my opinion, speaking about money, is you get to hear different perspectives and see how other people use their money. And I find it to help me brainstorm around how I want to use my money. Has it helped you kind of go beyond what you might normally think about how your money should be allocated to think more creatively, to hear other people talking about it?
Oh, absolutely. I think just being like, I call it kind of like dream stealing or whatever. Whenever you're like, oh, that's a great idea.
Belief borrowing, dream stealing. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so that you can definitely do that with how you spend your money. And I think one conversation that we had recently that really stuck with me is just how you really prioritize team support in your business, you specifically, Tara, and how I also have a high value of those like long-term relationships. I also will prioritize getting team support in my business because, again, at the end of the day, I don't have a ton of time as a mom to be able to do all the things. And so one practical way that the business can still grow is to have team support. And so I think, again, just like hearing what other people are doing, being like, and I think all the conversations also describe the reasoning behind why somebody would do that. So you do really understand, okay, what's the problem they have? What are the values that they want to honor? And then how did they came to that decision? So even if you come to a different decision or whatever, or applying it to your own situation, I think there's just so much power in just having permission around using your money in a way that feels really supportive in your business and in your life.
Yeah, I've heard other women in the program share this as well, that we talk more about the strategy and the principles and the process and less about the tactic or the technique. And that is I think a divergence from what is typically taught online, where they're teaching the technique or the tactic without the why, the strategy, the process. Mm-hmm. And it kind of impedes people's ability to create either something that is more in alignment for them, or like if the technique or tactic doesn't work, then what? Well, they don't understand why they were using it. Right. Yeah. So there's a sustainability in understanding the why behind things. And what would you feel has been the best result or the best lesson that you've had in the program?
Well, I think definitely that intention that I had set coming into the program of like figuring out, okay, what is the purpose for my money and how can it really serve the life that I want to create and the meaningful work that I want to do? I think that's the biggest progress that I've made too, because again, like before I joined, I was on the verge of burnout. I actually, to be honest, was in a place where I was like, I don't even think I like my business. But now I can honestly say, like, I enjoy my business. I love the women that I get to work with. Again, there are challenges on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And we're making those shifts though now, because this is what I actually love about you is, you are an expert. You have things that are in place. And I think what happened was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we cleared some of the mental junk around money to let you focus now on dialing in the pieces that you do have so they work even better for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I think, again, just seeing that the growth opportunities that I had was the mindset piece, was the energy piece, right? I think I really made a commitment to myself to like go back to the gym, get support with therapy, really take a look at the money mindset stuff, and to see that like my business strategy structure was working. But now that I feel, I'm in a better, like healthy, happy place, now we can kick it up a notch.
Yeah, we can kick it up a notch, right? And I remember that happening to me as well. And it's almost not even about, some of it is mindset when it comes to like profit first and understanding that stuff. Like I think some of the motivation pieces that you were curious about were definitely mindset pieces. But when I implemented profit first as a process, what was so good was I'm like, oh, I don't have to think about this anymore. I could think about other things now.
Yeah.
I can be more strategic in my thinking because it's freed up that mental space. And I know that I'm personally challenging you to get a little uncomfortable and get a little stretchy in your business. And I think that having that freed up that energy has allowed you, one, to have some energy to process being uncomfortable, but also what it's done is it's given you a why for doing something uncomfortable.
Exactly. Because it's so easy to just say, oh, everything's fine. Right. But again, I think I'm here to grow. I'm here to spread the message that women, you can do what you enjoy and get paid well for it. So let's all get a little bit uncomfortable and stretching to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have two final questions for you. One, what has been maybe your favorite component of the Bold Profit Academy? What do you really enjoy about how the program is structured? That's question one.
I mean, I love all of it. I think there's so many different levels of support, and you can definitely choose where it like meets you where you are because of that. And so I think there's like the curriculum itself. It is really deep in sort of teaching you savvy business principles that's just going to serve you like over time. But I think also the community piece, the when we get on calls and to be able to have these conversations and to be able to talk about things in an open space has been just, definitely the highlight of my week.
What would you say makes those calls or the community different maybe than other communities that you've seen or been in or heard about?
I would say, no, I have been lucky to be in communities that are super supportive. I also have experiences where it has not been a good fit. And I would say why it feels like a community is because we all like really respect each other. And there's not like a I don't know how to like a hierarchy of like, all the things and I don't know anything, right? It's just more like, hey, we're all kind of like on this journey learning together. And we all have something to offer. We all have an insight to contribute. We all have questions at whatever business level you are, because you'll always have them. And so I think there's just like a mutual feeling of respect and connection. And also I think like a genuine companionship of like, we want to see each other win. Like I want to see everybody win.
I do too.
I get inspired by everybody's growth and everything too. And I think that's just like super, super fun and supportive to be in a place like that.
It's really exciting to watch everybody's growth for sure. Yeah. And to honor their growth at the stage they're at, in the season of life that they're in is really what I really enjoy. So if somebody is like, I don't know if this is for me, am I a good fit? Will this work for me? Any one of those questions, you don't have to tackle all of them, but like what advice would you give someone who might be wondering those questions?
Yeah, I love that question. I think hiring the right support is always a skill that you can develop. I think for me, I always ask myself the question, okay, like what problem do I need to solve? So specifically, like in my case, I was like, okay, well, how do I make money purposeful or whatever? Just like getting really super clear on, okay, what is keeping you stuck? What's the thing that you do need support around, and getting really clear around that. And then for me, when I go to hire like a mentor or a coach, I always look for values alignment as well too. I think that was one of the questions that I asked you in our call, was just like, hey, tell me like what your top 3 values are. Because I think when you have a good values alignment fit with the person that you're learning from, there's less friction of like, oh, I don't know, this kind of feels weird or gross. But if you can have some sort of agreement in terms of their value system, then you're able to just like get to do the work together. So definitely ask yourself, okay, what values are important to me and the person that supports me. And so I think those are just like really asking yourself those questions, and then always have a conversation with them. Yeah. Whether they offer a discovery call, talk to them. If you can talk to them in DMs or whatever it is, to actually connect and have that conversation with them, I would 100% recommend that, because how one person shows up in their content is different, or could be different than how they show up in a space holding container. And so when you're able to talk to them, really just like the big question there too is, can they hold space for me?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so those are the things that I would questions that you can consider when you're
I think it's a red flag these days when people won't get on a call, or won't have a conversation, or sometimes you wind up having a conversation with an enrollment specialist and doesn't always go as well.
Yeah,
for sure. So where can folks, if you're like, I really like Shi and her energy, and I want to find a new internet friend, and where can they find you, Shi?
I love internet friends, so definitely love to connect. I am most active on Instagram, so you can find me at Shi Chen Coaching, SHICHEN Coaching.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
If you've found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.